Okay, so tone. This is also our discussion a little bit around opinion, right? We talked about watch out for I think and I feel. So is the tone appropriate? We say scholarly writing generally avoids cliches and colloquial language. What are cliches? Anybody have an example that you might have one?
Roses are red.
Say that again.
Roses are red.
Roses are red. Yeah, that's totally a cliche. So roses are red, violets are blue. But yeah. Anytime you're using like these kind of terms that everybody says, we all know that, I don't know. No, I'm trying to think of something. Red is a rose. Yeah. So watch out for cliches. What about colloquialisms? What is colloquial language? Have I caught any of you on that this quarter so you can speak to it? What? Did I catch you on that?
Nothing, sorry. Well, you haven't comment on it, but I have
Okay, tell us.
It's language that's common to the area or the topic that
Yeah.
you're talking about. I mean, if, like, the Pacific Northwest is known for measuring things in hours, not the distance that it's used.
Okay.
So if you say, oh, it's about 2 hours, then more people might know what you're talking about rather than it's 2 miles and be like, well, how long will it take me to get there?
That is a really specific example of colloquialism, far beyond what I would have even expected. But yes, that's a really good example. How we talk in time versus distance. But yeah, more just overall when we say regionalisms. But we also talk about colloquialism as like conversational, really informal conversational stuff. I like to think of colloquialism when it comes to academic writing is, does it sound like you're talking to your friends? Like you're just hanging out, having, cool out time and just kind of chilling. And as I say that, I hear my mom in my mom's voice in my head. When I used to get in trouble for being disrespectful, she'd go, who do you think you're talking to, one of your friends? And so it was that kind of like, I know that's not the right way to be talking for this particular context. So if you're talking to one of your friends in your paper, ask yourself, is this friend also in my major and they're a senior and they're working on their final paper and they're an educated person in my group? Or is this like my friend who knows nothing about the topic and I'm really trying to dumb it down? Your goal is not to dumb it down. Okay. So watch out for speaking a little too informally, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay. Is there awareness and control of expectation of the appropriate academic audience? That's the same thing. This is like, if you're writing about education, though, for example, like Jeremy and Amanda are doing, does it seem like they're actually talking to educators because they're interested in kind of speaking to educators? If you're looking at psychology, does it sound like you're kind of talking to people in that field? Now, some of you are crossing fields, in which case, do you just sound like you're having an intellectual discussion with other people on the topic? Okay, is the voice of the writer primary? What do I mean by that? Yeah, not letting your sources overtake it. What might that look like in a paper? If you're reading someone's paper, how can you tell if the voice is primary versus becoming secondary? What are some of the things that'll stand out to you pretty fast? Lots of quotes, exactly. So one of the ways to gauge this is to look for how much quoted information is used and paraphrasing. Okay, especially lots of big block quotes. Okay. One of the things I like to think about is kind of percentages. Did somebody ask this in the class before? What percentage should be your voice? Did you ask that? Like my voice versus your voice in a paper? Sources versus kind of argument?
I think so.
He's like, okay, why did you call me out while I'm eating my Cheeto? Okay, so what do you think might be an appropriate like ratio of I say to they say, if you had to think about it for an academic paper? Any ventured guesses?
70-30.
Ooh.
20. I
Yeah.
was about to say, yeah, 1/3.
Somewhere in that 1/3, yeah, definitely. I know. The other class I was joking. I'm like 72%, but it seems to be kind of a 1/3, 1/4-ish kind of thing that should be. What's that?
I think it's really difficult when you're like trying to write your paper and you say you or they or like
Mm-hmm.
most people or all these people.
Right.
Like when you have that in your paper, it makes it harder to like make your point.
Well, that starts getting into broad generalizations, and it's not clear who your sources are. I mean, that does a lot of different things, right, for voice. But are you saying it as far as I say, they say?
Not like that, but like when you're talking about a certain group or like a certain target of people,
Mhm.
and then you start saying, oh, they,
Oh, okay. Mhm.
like that. Because then you can't be.
That becomes part of wild claims and overgeneralizations, where you should say 60% of people in high school today are not learning handwriting. Then you get out of the they, meaning kids today. Kids today.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So for this example, one of the things to think about is think about each paragraph. So each of your body paragraphs, you'll probably have a quote, right, that might be somewhere in the 1/3, but you've got an intro to it, you've got discussion afterwards. Chances are strong in most of your body paragraphs, any quotes you have really are probably not going to take up more than 1/3. Now, this is why the number gets a little more than 63%, 66%. We move towards 72. Is your intro is mostly you. Your conclusion is mostly you as well. So consider that if half of your paper is summary, 50-50, you probably don't have enough explanation or enough analysis. And that's really what we want to know about, right? Because we want to know what you think of the sources you have. Okay, and then, is the voice of the writer convincing? Do you sound knowledgeable? Blah, blah, blah. Do you use citation and formatting? Hopefully you do. We're going to spend more time on these kinds of citation and lower level issues next class for our next workshop. Do look at for the organizational and language strategies. One of the things that we want to pay attention to even at this point is really our signposts used to lead the reader through the discussion. And those are often the signal about why the evidence is there in the paragraph anyways. So it's often kind of our indicator of what this paragraph's about. Is the evidence presented, in fact, connected to what they're trying to do, and does it connect back to the thesis? Okay. All right. Those are the main things we want to look for. So for today, just kind of as a heads up, pay attention if the voice feels, if you notice any weird voice shifting or kind of stuff that feels too much summary. Okay, watch for too much summary, and watch for like opinionated voice or really too informal of language. Okay, and signposts. All right, so what we're going to do